on to objective 2 here. This one is to describe the functions of saliva. We somewhat did that already, so just to kind of review that one more time. The functions of stomach acid, pancreatic juice, and bile. So we've introduced all these 4 secretions already and kind of where they're secreted and their general function. We're going to talk more about how they are regulated. So saliva in the oral cavity, the stomach acid in the stomach, the pancreatic juice, and bile, both being released from the pancreas and liver or gallbladder, respectively, into the duodenum. So we'll talk about salivary secretion, we'll talk about acid and pepsinogen, right? Remember, acid coming from the parietal cells, pepsinogen coming from the chief cells, both being released into the stomach. We'll talk about the pancreatic juice and the bile. And then lastly, we'll look at the rate of fluid movement in the digestive tract. So saliva is secreted in response to the texture and taste of food. So essentially, there are mechanoreceptors and chemoreceptors in the mouth, in the oral cavity, and they are picking up the taste of food. Different parts of the tongue are responsible for different tastes. So we've got sweet taste in the front of the tongue. We've got more bitter taste at the back of the tongue. There's also the texture of food. So soft textures, creamy textures, different textures that our food have. Those are all things that are being recognized and picked up by the cells in the mouth. Specifically, the mechanoreceptors taking the texture into account, and then the chemoreceptors taking the chemical makeup and the taste into account. They are relayed, these signals are relayed to the salivary centers in the medulla. So in the central nervous system, the medulla oblongata, they're going to be sending these signals to those regions, and they're going to see the regulating at these integrating centers that then have autonomic or efferent fibers, efferent communication down towards the salivary glands, and then they will finally release their secretions into the oral cavity. Now, the sight and smell can also input here, very similar to what we just mentioned before. It's not just the physical presence of food and textures and chemicals in the mouth. There's also input coming from just seeing food, just smelling food, the drive-thru at McDonald's, right? We can already start salivating by those types of inputs and those types of signals. Now, the type of saliva is going to be different depending on which division of the nervous system is more active. So if the parasympathetic system is more active, we're going to have a more watery, more fluid, more liquidy content or makeup to the saliva. It's also going to have less protein, by the way. If the sympathetic system is more active, we're going to see more proteins. It's going to be more protein rich. It's going to be more viscous, more of a thick makeup to the saliva. And that is really because of the parasympathetic system being more involved in the presence of food and the movement of food through the GI tract. So the makeup of that saliva needs to be a little bit more fluid, a little bit more watery to really aid in that motility and the secretion and that digestion and absorption that's taking place.